If you dare stitch up a V-shaped wound like this with simple interrupted sutures, you'll watch the tip of the skin flap die a slow, dramatic death, shriveling up and falling off to leave a hole that has to be filled with lumpy scar tissue. This is because these last 2 stitches strangle the blood vessels supplying the tip. To cancel this necrosis party, switch to half-buried mattress sutures. The horizontal half-buried mattress suture, aka the corner stitch, is more commonly used. Just take a bite of skin on one side of the skin flap, thread through the flap itself, and back out the skin on the other side. Then tie a surgeon's knot between the 2 ends. This should pull the edges together nicely while also averting them. If you want even more aversion, try the vertical version of the corner stitch by backhanding the first bite into the wound from the corner of the skin flap, then still backhanding, take a vertical deep to superficial bite of the skin flap, sneaking out from the dermis without ever breaking through the skin. Finish with a forehand bite emerging just proximal to where you started. Feel free to use simple interrupted sutures to close up the rest of the wound. Just make sure they are far enough from the tip not to strangle it. Use code VETVENTURES for 10% off your Suture Buddy kit and start practice. Before attempting a microsurgical stitch, the way you pick up your tiny needle sets you up either for success or catastrophic failure. First off, practicing microsurgery with regular bulky instruments can be tricky. Special microsurgical needle holders have thinner curved tips that allow enhanced control and precision during delicate procedures. If you grab the needle too far back in the thicker portion of the needle holder, you'll destroy its curvature. Conversely, hold it too close to the tip and with just a little extra squeeze, it will fly out, never to be seen again. So this is the ideal zone the needle should sit in. The needle itself should be picked up somewhere along its middle half. If you dare go beyond these limits, you'll either have so little to work with or will be holding the softer end of the needle, which loves to bend and ruin your life. The exact spot you choose to hold along the middle portion determines the upward or downward angle of the needle when approaching the tissue. Holding exactly in the middle will result in the needle angled parallel to the tissue, which is what you usually want as a beginner. You must also hold the needle at 90-degree angles in both its vertical and horizontal axes. Otherwise, it will not cooperate when you try to push it through the flesh. You can use code VETVENTURES10 for 10% off your proximity microsurgical suture pads and start practicing. Here's the slickest way of tying a surgeon's knot, which you can even use to impress your friends when tying your shoelaces. Pass the right strand over your right hand, pinching it with your thumb and middle finger, and the left strand under your left hand, pinching it with your thumb and index finger. Then the middle finger of your left hand goes under the right strand and over the left strand, and the index finger of your right hand goes under the left strand and over the right strand. Both strands are pulled tight to fasten this initial double throw knot. This double throw will prevent the knot from loosening before you can secure it with the next one. For the second knot, the left strand is pinched with the thumb and middle finger of the left hand, and the index finger goes over the right strand then under the left strand, pulling the left strand through the loop created. Now let's compare the hand tie to the instrument tie method. Here the long strand of suture material is wrapped around the needle holder twice in a clockwise direction. Then the short end is grabbed and pulled through these loops to tighten the knot. Next, the long end of suture material is wrapped around the needle holder once in a counterclockwise direction, and the short end is grabbed and pulled through. This can be repeated up to 10 times. Holy stitches, you guys! This is epic. In just 3 hours, you will learn up to 12 ways of stitching up a wound like a surgeon. Using proper technique, of course. The online Suture Buddy course, led by an emergency medicine physician and myself, is open for registration with only a few spots left. Anyone can sign up to learn this incredibly useful skill, and all VetVentures followers get 10% off by using the discount code VETVENTURES when signing up. We will be sending you a full suture kit in the mail custom built for the course. During the course, we will give you both one-on-one and group instruction as you go through the motions step by step. The link to sign up is in my bio. Can't wait to meet you there. To remove porcupine quills from flesh, you must first snip the top of each quill that is sticking out of the skin. This releases the pressure from inside of the quill and relaxes the microscopic barbs that would otherwise dig the quill deeper and deeper. Then gently grab each quill with hemostats or pliers, twist, and pull it out. Make sure to pull quickly and steadily in the same direction it went in. Twisting helps prevent the barbs from pulling all the flesh out with them. Soaking the quills in a baking soda and vinegar mixture beforehand softens them through descaling, aka dissolving the calcium deposits in the quill. But this is not practical for quills stuck in the nose and mouth, which of course is usually where they end up getting stuck. Once out, double check that the point of the quill is intact, because just like splinters and ticks, if even the tiniest piece breaks off and stays lodged in the skin, it is likely to cause an infection. When skin is severely burnt, the damage continues even after the source of heat is removed. So flush the wound with cool running water for at least 10 minutes. Never ever apply ice or very cold water on a burn, as this will cause blood vessels to constrict, reducing blood flow and resulting in further damage. For extensive burns, use a hose to quickly cool a larger area. To reduce the chance of infection, do not touch the wound unless wearing sterile gloves. Temporarily covering it with a non-stick dressing like cling film will also prevent contamination until emergency professional help becomes available. Never pop burn blisters that usually appear within 12 hours of a second-degree burn, as it increases the chance of infection. Topical antimicrobials and sterile non-stick bandages will likely be required, and skin grafts may also be necessary. Tilapia skin grafts can be very useful for bandaging burn wounds, as fish skin has large amounts of moisture and collagen proteins which reduce scarring while also promoting healing. This technique has been successfully used for both animals and humans rescued from wildfires. But don't worry, as the wound heals underneath, the tilapia skin will eventually fall off. You have to try these viral DIY medical Christmas decoration hacks. Instead of tossing empty medicine vials, pop some Christmas lights through their rubber stoppers to get the most unique Christmas lighting. You may need to manually stretch the hole in the rubber beforehand to prevent breaking the lights. And make sure to clean the vials so dangerous medication residues won't stick to the lights you may want to reuse for something else. Next, grab 2 surgical masks, break off the ear loops, scrunch one in the middle and the other at the end. Use the band you ripped out to attach the 2 scrunched up parts. Then just floof out the wings and voila, adorable snow angels. Just don't hang them too close to the Christmas lights to prevent fires. Next, take a long strand of tinsel or another linear Christmas decoration and stick it on the walls in the shape of an ECG trace. Don't worry about making it perfect. Wide QRS complexes and missing P waves mimicking arrhythmias can be used to check who pays close enough attention to your hard work to notice them. Lastly, glove trees are totally in this year, so blow up medical gloves and stack them like Christmas tree branches. Place them palms down for a more natural look and top it off with a glove as the star, because what's better than a 5-pointed topper? You no longer need to risk your life to give your pet a pill. Instead of reaching your hand inside their mouth to place the pill at the back of the tongue where it can't be spit out, you can use a pill popper or pill shooter. To DIY a pill popper, grab a regular pencil and remove the eraser. Then insert the tip of a screwdriver into the eraser hole to stretch it big enough to fit the smaller end of the pill without it falling out when you shake the pencil. Make sure to cover all the sharp ends with something like electrical tape before putting the pill inside. Now open your pet's mouth and instead of reaching inside with your hand, place your DIY pill popper in. As soon as the pill touches the back of the tongue, it will just fall right out of the pencil and be swallowed. If this doesn't happen, it means the eraser hole isn't wide enough. If for any reason you can't safely open your pet's mouth, you can lightly press the tip of your pill popper at the side of the mouth and very gently wiggle it in until the mouth opens. When the mouth is finally open enough, move the tip of the pill popper towards the back of the mouth and press the tablet onto the back of the tongue until it pops out. Surgeons love doing the eggshell removal challenge. To begin, lightly tap a raw egg with something metal to create microfractures in the shell without damaging the membrane. A raw egg's brittle shell mimics bone, while its fragile inner membrane represents nerves or tissues that must remain intact. Use a toothpick or forceps to carefully lift tiny pieces of shell with controlled force. Avoid rushing to remove large flakes, as lifting them will tear the membrane. Remember, just one tiny tear and you have to start all over again. But don't worry, frustration from membrane tears helps build emotional resilience. To help minimize hand tremors, you can mirror surgical ergonomics by anchoring your elbows to your body and resting your pinky finger on the egg. Don't forget to take slow, deep breaths to stay calm and focused. When you get really good at this challenge, set a 10-minute timer to mimic time-sensitive surgeries, or try peeling multiple eggs in a row to practice endurance for really long surgeries. Peeling eggs engages the same muscle groups and neural pathways used in surgery, and each attempt helps hone surgical intuition and adaptive thinking under pressure.